Some people wonder about differentiated instruction and reading endurance, especially as nonfiction passages get longer and longer in Common Core assessments or any other kind of assessment down the road. A couple of thoughts on this. First, you have to understand Harry Potter series, many other books. If it's good writing, they'll read 7, 8, 900 pages. So the first thing you want to do is actually have good literature. Kids will read nonfiction or fiction if it's well written. So if it's really passive, it's really third person reporting, and it's very dry, and there's no compelling reason to get into the stuff, the writing isn't very compelling, you're always going to have that issue. And you're really teaching kids, how do I endure stuff I hate? This is not what you want to do to really get kids to engage in passages. So you have to understand, there's no such thing as laziness. It really is a myth. Mel Levine was correct in that regard. A child works really hard on something for 30 minutes on a problem. That's a long time on a math problem. Maybe for 30 minutes on a puzzle. Maybe writing the conclusion to a science lab. And you think, oh my gosh, it took so much time. They'll never want to do it again. But here's what really happens. Veteran teachers, see if you'd agree. They actually look up at you after they have this euphoric sense, this sense of well-being. Look, I spent all this effort on it and I actually learned it. It all comes together. This is great. They actually look up and say this, give me another one. It's like the reward for hard work is more hard work. This is the way we're wired. So I want to understand very clearly with myself and anything I do in the classroom, these kids want to do demanding, effort-intensive activity. They really do because they want competence. They crave competence. So if a child at first says, you know what, this is just lame, I'm not going to do it, there's a lot going on there because he'll go home and do all 9 levels of some online gaming situation for like 7 hours. He'll like skip dinner to do that stuff because he's so into it. What's the difference there? What leads to that success? Well, nothing motivates life success. And as Rick Lavoie, who does so many wonderful things for us and really gives us insight on learning disabilities, you have to understand, motivation is only doing to the best of your ability what you're already capable of doing. So we find that if kids have the tools, they actually have no problem being motivated to stick through something, to really follow it through to its end, to have the endurance, the stick-to-itiveness. But we're in a website society. If a website doesn't download within 2 seconds, we tend to move on to the next one. I need that sound bite, like right now. A lot of kids are used to reading news as just little sound bites. Online, maybe coming across on their smartphone, or somebody just tells them a little quick sound clip and oh, that was it. But the idea of following rhetoric through to its natural course, its end conclusion, to see the logic all the way through, that's a little harder. So start out with the small things, 2, 3, 4 sentences, but make sure it's very compelling. And then build up. You can also build in a cause, a justification. Kids are always about what's fair and what's unfair. So if they really get into a heated debate with something, they'll read pages and pages of text trying to find really good ideas. You also want to set some kind of structure. See, very little goes into the brain and the mind, and it's remembered in long-term memory unless the structure is very clear. So you might want to teach kids to use transition words to reveal text structure. If you have however, on the other hand, instead of, you go, that's compare contrast. But if the kids are reading transition words like because, as a result, due to, that's cause and effect. Well, when kids can recognize the structure, they're willing to go with it because they understand how it fits. And experts always think in connections. Beginners always keep things individual pieces, and they don't see the meanings. Well, we're moving children from being beginners to being experts. So when we give them the tools to reveal structure, connection, how one relates to another, they get excited about it. They see how it fits. This is something in isolation, but now it's in meaningful context. They will go for it. So do you give them the tools to decipher text, to decode text, to see how it fits in one or the other? Do you give them background in something? When you're teaching the Gettysburg Address, for example, Abraham Lincoln's famous speech, do you remind them that he wasn't actually there to talk about the battle so much as to dedicate a cemetery? And he was reflecting some of the politics of the time, the attitude towards Lincoln at the time, and talking about some of the things that were going on in the country. All of that's coming to play. What would we say at a dedication of a cemetery for our wartime fallen? And we talk about that for a bit, then we get to the Gettysburg Address. We actually bring out a map of Pennsylvania and talk about what was going on at Gettysburg. This meaningful context, before they actually read it, they will go for it. They will do anything. They will summarize, which at first seems kind of boring, but no, they'll really get it because they can see the pieces. For example, we want kids to summarize, but they need to have a good topic sentence. So we say, all right, all topic sentences have two parts, the subject and the author's claim about it. Great. What's the subject of this thing? Dogs. What do you think is the general gist? Well, they make great pets. So what's our topic sentence? Dogs make great pets. Great. That seems to be the topic. Great. We can actually decipher and summarize this material that we have just read when we actually perceive what's going on and we have the tools to decipher it. So you want kids to really build this sense of endurance. Have them read very long passages of fiction that they really enjoy. Then also you want to find the journalistic version of boring encyclopedic stuff you have to teach. So use passages from Read Magazine, Calliope, Odyssey, Cobblestone Magazine, Discover Magazine, National Geographic, and get the journalistic portrayal of something you have to teach, which is kind of the narrative version of something you have to teach. And if you can't find it, you write your own. Or use this year's class to create those for next year and subsequent generations of students. That's fine too. But then they read that narrative version, that journalistic version, and then you have them read the encyclopedic, straight out, just basic text description. They'll hang on every word because they have a vivid idea of what you're talking about for having visited the volcano, in this example, through the vivid, compelling description. Like I remember one National Geographic article, red hot lava popped out like flying pumpkins in the air. That's kind of a cool image. And there was, I remember one passage, it was the sound of a cosmic belch, like roaring 747 engines or something. That's kind of cool. I read that stuff, then I read the encyclopedic stuff. I'll stick with something when I have a very clear picture of what it is. So structure, good literature, all the ways to kind of build this perseverance, this stick-to-itiveness.